Sounds like an oxymoron today, but let's talk about the journalists who fought with truth. You know, they told us freedom of the press meant justice for all. They told us that telling the truth was enough to make the world listen. But what they didn't tell us is that when a black woman began exposing truth about lynching in America, the nation tried to silence her. But she refused to be quiet. Let's get into another episode of Black History that makes you go, In this episode, we're stepping into the life of Ida B. Wells, a woman with a pen so powerful that it terrified white supremacy. A woman who turned journalism into a weapon of liberation. They told us journalism was about objectivity, that reporters should stay neutral, detached, and polite. But Ida B. Wells lived in a world where neutrality meant death. In 1892, her friends, a successful black businessman in Memphis, were lynched for daring to compete with white stores, with white-owned stores. The local papers didn't call it murder, they called it justice. That was the moment Ida decided silence was no longer an option. Here's what really happened. Born enslaved in 1862 in Mississippi, Ida grew up in the aftermath of the Civil War. Her parents taught her self-respect, education, and independence. When they died of yellow fever, she became a teacher at just 16 years old. But her fire came from injustice. One day, she refused to give up her seat on a train. 3 decades before Rosa Parks, she was drugged off by force. She sued the railroad company and won the first round, though the victory was later overturned. Still, that experience taught her something critical: to fight back. She had to tell the truth publicly. So she became a journalist, first writing for small black newspapers, then owning her own. Her publication, The Free Speech and Headlight, became the voice of the voiceless. After her friends were lynched, she began investigating the epidemic of lynching sweeping across America. What she found was horrifying: that many of these so-called crimes used to justify these murders were lies. The real offense was that black people were thriving, owning land, running businesses, asserting dignity. She published her findings, naming names, exposing patterns, and demanding accountability. The backlash was swift and brutal. A white mob destroyed her printing press and threatened to kill her. She fled Memphis, but she didn't stop. She kept writing, she kept speaking, and carrying her message around the world. When no major American newspaper would print her work, she traveled to Britain to speak about the horrors of racial terror in the United States. Her courage embarrassed the American government, forcing them to confront a truth that they wanted to bury. Ida was also co-founder of the NAACP, fought for women's suffrage, and raised 6 children, all while remaining one of the sharpest minds of her time. She was bold, relentless, uncompromising in her demands for justice. Why does her story still matter today? Because Ida B. Wells didn't wait for permission to speak. She reminds us that truth-telling is activism, that exposing injustice isn't divisive, it's necessary. She stood alone against mobs, politicians, and editors because she knew something we often forget. If we don't write our story, someone else will rewrite it for us. Today, as misinformation spreads faster than facts, Ida's legacy calls us back to integrity, bravery, and courage. She proved that the written word, when wielded by a righteous hand, can shake empires and save lives. So what about you? What are you afraid to tell? What injustice are you overlooking because it's uncomfortable? Ida didn't wait for a platform, she built one. And she used it to speak truth to power. Will you? We understand that 5 minutes a day keeps the miseducation away, so I want to encourage you to stay curious, stay consistent, and keep learning what they try to bury. If you enjoyed this lesson and want to go deeper, click the link to learn more about our Black History flashcards and start reclaiming our story one card at a time. Till next time, good people, my name is Freddie Taylor. I'm the CEO and founder of Urban Intellectuals. Love, peace, and power to the people.